Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming to my channel. And I just want to say, for the people who are real viewers, thank you so much for coming and joining my channel. And I do ask that you share it with other people. It's not that I'm looking for the channel to get bigger, but I do want a lot of people to get it so that my story can be out there. And, you know, whenever there's a targeted individual who makes YouTube videos and who makes sense, I think it's important that their word is shared because a lot of people are going through this and they're not telling anyone. But the reason why I'm coming here tonight is basically to give you an update about the things going on in my life or in my family's life. And the reason why I'm doing it is because it really shows how, if you're a targeted individual, and I hate using that term, we have to think of a new term. But anyway, if you're targeted by these idiots that do it, they're worse than idiots, but not everyone on this channel would, you know, some people like to keep it PG-13 and not R-rated. But for these people doing this to us, they don't, if you're really, really deep in it and you're a really, really big victim, they don't just do it to you, they also do it to your family. And if you've watched one of the videos that I've left recently, you have seen where I said that they killed my aunt. And if this is the first time that you've heard it, yes, they killed my aunt. My aunt was, you know, very close with me and my mother. My mother was the one who became targeted first because she was in the United States Navy based in Little Rock, Arkansas at Camp Robinson Base, which is located in Little Rock, and she was a Navy reservist. And at the time, by the way, my mom, she was in graduate school. She was doing very well in her classes and everything, and she also had a job. And yeah, she already had a graduate degree when she became a targeted individual, but she was in the PhD program. I'm not showing off by telling you this. I'm only telling you this because it's very important to know, because they always like to say, the people targeting us, they always like to say that we're mentally unstable, we're nobody in society, we've never accomplished anything. And I want to make this known in this video that that's not true. For my mother specifically, and it most likely is not true for you. If you've ever wondered why people look at you weird as a targeted individual and you know that you have been talked about before, you've arrived at a certain place, that is the reason. They tell police officers, university police, university personnel, your employer at your job, many different people, even at when you go to the store, they will tell them that you're mentally unstable, that they need to keep an eye on you and watch you and all of that stuff. And that's not true. So that's the only reason that that's the only reason why I'm mentioning my mother's history. But the thing is, my aunt was very good with me and my mother. She was great because she has been like she was like a second mother to me. And yeah, my cousins, who were my aunt's sons and daughters, they didn't believe that we are a targeted individual, and even to this day, they still don't believe that we're a targeted individual. Also, you know how family, they talk amongst themselves about things going on. They basically mentioned things that were going on in their life, and my mother knew that it was because the military, these people who are targeting us, they also started to target my other family member. But you know, sometimes with family you can't help them because they think that our story is so far-fetched, because we've told all of them that, you know, our phone lines are monitored, watch what you say on the phone, believe us, you may not want to drink the water from the tap, or you may not you may want to just be careful when you take a shower often in your house. By the way, they do poison your water. I haven't drunk water out of the tap for a very long time, except if I'm in a really in a place that I've never been before, and yeah, if I'm in a place that I've never been before and I'm passing through a city, it's impossible that they've tapped it, most likely. But anyway, that wasn't the point of this video. I'm already at 5 minutes. I'm going to make it really quick. My aunt believed me and my mom. She believed us 110%. A lot of things happened to her. She lived in Lilac Ledge, lilac like the flower, Lilac Ledge Apartments, which was in Waukegan, Illinois. And there was a Latino guy that worked in the building. His name was, I cannot remember his name for anything. It wasn't David, because David worked in 7345 South Shore Drive apartment, in the apartment in South Chicago where me and my mom lived. But, oh, his name was Ricky. His name was Ricky. He looked like he was a prison convict, but he worked in the building. And I remember how sometimes I would go over and visit my aunt because she was legally blind, how he would just be so anxious to come in the apartment. What they even did is I don't even want to say everything on this video, but they were so anxious to come in the apartment. They studied her. They put harmful chemicals in the vent to make her sick, and her eyesight actually got worse. To make a long story short, she moved in with me and my mom in 7345 South Shore Drive, which is located in Chicago, in the south side of Chicago. And when my aunt moved in, her situation got worse because it was happening to us, but my mother couldn't be both places at once, and it was better for my aunt to be living with us than to be alone when these people were targeting her, because my mother initially was the one who got targeted. And to make a long story short, my aunt, she died in the hospital. They were putting so many harmful chemicals into the building, and through the vents and through the central heating in 7345 South Shore Drive, where there was a Polish man. His name was Luszczyk, and he was maybe like in his late 60s. And they were doing a lot of things with the vents to make my aunt sick. They even had like a generator or some kind of equipment going in the neighboring apartment. And I don't know if it was responsible for causing radiation or what. But to make a long story short, my aunt started feeling very sick. She went into the hospital because of this. And that was their goal, to get her into the hospital. She went into the hospital because of this. And they were giving her medicine that she was having an adverse reaction to. One of the medicines was a prescription narcotic. And, someone who is in my aunt's age should have not been on a narcotic, but she was. And my mother had the power of attorney, which basically meant that, my mom, she would be the one to tell the doctors what to do or to make the decisions for my aunt, because my aunt wasn't fully able to make those decisions. And my mom told the Indian doctor, don't give her any more of this narcotic. She's sleeping all day. Her blood pressure is extremely low. And as soon as my mom told this woman that, the woman meaning the female doctor from India, and yes, I'm saying from India because a lot of times people who are not American, they are more inclined to do dirty things so that they can perhaps make a way for their family to come over to America. And there are other stories that I can tell you related to being a targeted individual that supports what I'm saying. It's not that I'm racist. That's just what I feel, and that's what I know from what I've seen. But anyway, my mom told the doctor to not give any more of this narcotic medication. And literally 5 seconds later, the doctor turned away from my mother and told the nurse, give her more of the narcotic medication. And my mother stopped her right there. But the thing is, the doctor knew my mom had the power of attorney, but still didn't care, because they had been given orders, continue to give this medicine, continue to give this narcotic to this woman who's almost in her 70s, which was my aunt. And, that's what happened. And literally less than 48 hours later, my aunt passed because of that. And if you think that these people don't call your doctor when you have a doctor's appointment or if you go into the emergency room, you're greatly mistaken. You can listen to me, but if you don't want to, hey, that's on you. But I'm just letting you know, keep yourself in perfect health. Do everything to guard your health, because they want the opportunity to hurt you tremendously. And yeah, that happened to my aunt. I loved her very much. She was amazing. I think about her now. This happened on Good Friday in the year of 2019. And I think about it every day, and right now I feel like I'm about to cry because she was absolutely amazing. She was a very religious woman, and whenever she prayed about something, God really gave her an answer. And she knew that we were in this situation, but her children thought that she was insane, mentally unstable, because they don't believe it. She even has a daughter in the United States Navy to this very day, and her daughter doesn't believe it. And my mom told her daughter about chemtrails, and you would think that if she's in the military that she knows about chemtrails, because that's aviation, and that's the Navy, and that's their specialty, learning about chemtrails, because those are important things for a Navy sailor to know. And yeah, my cousin laughed at my mother as if my mother was schizophrenic. Yeah, as if chemtrails don't exist, and what are even chemtrails. But there are people who do know and who do read books, but there are a lot of people who are bookworms who join the military only because they weren't able to find a job outside of the military, and they're not really interested in necessarily things such as chemtrails and all these other things that do exist in the world. They just want to do their desk job in the military. They want to do it right, and that's the angle that they work from. And that's how my cousin is. She went to university, she did well, she came out, couldn't find a job, joined the military, and she's an extremely high performer in the military because of her background in college. But I'm not saying this again to brag on her. I'm just letting you know that there are some people who are in the military, and though they're in the military, they don't know about these things that the military members are doing. But the reason I'm making this video really is because it's not just about the death of one of my aunts. It's also about the death of another aunt. My other aunt died like 1 week ago. She lives in Dallas, Texas, and she died. And yeah. It was basically in a very similar way that my first aunt died. And I do believe that it was because she was sleeping a lot, and I do believe that it was because of a specific narcotic. And this is what they do. What they have done to my second aunt, who's now deceased, yet in very good health. They made sure that they put a chemical in her house that caused her to start forgetting, and gave her a very quick case of dementia. And she was unable to continue working and doing other things, and that's how she died. And that's how they like to attack people. They like to mess with their minds so that they deteriorate. And they study the DNA. They're not just doing it to my mom or to me. They're also doing it to family members. They want to wipe us all out so that there's no one to help us if we ever need help. And yeah, they did that also to my aunt. And what was I going to tell you next? Yeah, they try to attack the mind, so the person starts to deteriorate out of the blue. Yes, out of the blue. And after that, they will make the person vulnerable in the hospital and go in for the final attack. And that's why it's so important that if you're at the hospital with someone, you don't leave that person's side when they need you, because the moment you leave is the moment that they die. It was kind of like when my first aunt died. My mom was there watching her and saw that her blood pressure was getting extremely low, and she just would not wake up because she was in a deep sleep because of the narcotics that they were giving her, that my mom told them not to give her. And yeah, a lot of people would say, oh, she would have died anyway. because I can imagine the comments on this video, especially by the people who who pretend to be targeted individuals, but who are not. Anyway, but no, I'm not gonna say that, because in the hospital she started to improve. And as soon as the military saw that she started to improve, and I say the military as a blanket term for the people who are tracking us, considering that that's where it started. The moment that they saw that my aunt started to improve, that is the moment that they started to give her narcotics. And the nurses, and I'm going to be honest, being in Chicago, a very racist and terrible city, with a lot of people who don't give a damn how they treat black patients. And that is reality, because I used to be a flight attendant, and I used to fly from New York to Chicago, and I hated the Chicago flights because the passengers were very rude. I could not stand them. I would prefer to go to Dallas or to Carolina somewhere, or to Oklahoma City, but not to Chicago. It was the absolute, I think, one of the most racist flights that I ever did as a flight attendant. Long story short, the nurses had no problem obeying the doctor's orders. They didn't want to deal with the patients. They were rude. Even one night, they wouldn't allow my mom to come into the... they banned my mom from the emergency room because my mother was telling the nurses what they were doing wrong, because my mother used to be a nurse. And it wasn't that she was overstepping her grounds. It was that she saw that these things were not being done right. My aunt was not being cared for, and she's there to help my aunt. Therefore, she tells the nurses what they're doing wrong, and they banned her from the emergency room. And, yeah. But now back to my second aunt that died last week. Yeah, they make it seem like the person had a mental problem because of dementia, and they deteriorated, and because of dementia, death is inevitable. That's the narrative that they want to paint, and that's how they cover their tracks. They hit the person with dementia first, or with some kind of memory problem. They didn't do it to my first aunt. They did not. And the reason why they weren't able to is because my first aunt knew about being a targeted individual. Therefore, she was hypersensitive to the things in her environment, and she made sure that she was extra careful. My second aunt, that the household thought my mom was crazy. Even to this very day, they think my mother's crazy. And my mother hates that they would not listen to her, because she feels that this situation with the death of my second aunt could have definitely been avoided. And, yeah. I'm just going to skip over that right quick. And now I have a third aunt. And my third aunt has now gotten dementia or memory problems. And this is what they do. This is what they want to do. They want to take away all the family who does treat us nice and who does respect us. You know, even though they may not believe us, they still know that blood is thicker than water, and they still are going to stand by our side. And those are the family members who they are attacking. The family members who they don't mess with are the family members such as my cousin, who's in the Navy, the one I told you about a few minutes ago. And they don't touch my other cousin who lives in Chicago, the same city that my aunt was in, the same city that I was in, even though we never saw her because she didn't want a relationship with us, because it was more important that she have a relationship with her husband who didn't like us. But that is not the point of the story. The point of the story is that the family members who do not really care about us and who talk about us behind our backs and say that we're crazy and say that we're lazy and we don't want to get a job, not knowing that we can't get a job, well, a normal job, because of everything going on, those are the ones that the military does not mess with. They only mess with the ones who are people who were financially stable, like really financially stable in the family. Those are the ones who they attack. And I just really pray to God, I'm going to have to continue to pray that my third aunt does not die. You know, I wish that I would have spent more time talking to my second aunt, but I didn't. I did not, because she lived very far away. She lived very far away, and, yeah. I remember my mom keeps telling me about an experience that she had when she went to the VA, which is the medical center for veterans. And she told me that they asked her a bizarre question when she went in for an interview. Where do your families live? What are their addresses? And do they have any medical conditions? And my mom always brings that up and says that before that, none of my aunts had any problems. And that is true. And then after they get all the addresses, then that is when my aunts started to have problems. Yeah. And I don't have any uncles now. I just have aunts. And that's what's happening. Then I have another aunt number 4. She's also still living. And she says that she's been experiencing changes. And I don't want to go into details about that, but I will say this. My mother has told her time and time again about being a targeted individual, about how they put things in the water, and about how they send out radiation and electrical currents. So, don't walk on your floor barefooted because those electrical currents can go there, and make sure that just a lot of different things. I don't want to go into detail about everything, but my aunt just downplays it and just listens to my mother to be a supportive sister, but she doesn't believe it. And these things are coming to her, and we are close with this aunt, and that's why they want to attack her also. And because they don't want us to be close to anyone, they don't want us to have any family, and that's why I'm making this video, to put it out there. Because I know this video will remain. Today's date is July the 29th, 2022. And I want to put this video out there so that they can see that, okay, yeah, you're doing it. Yeah, you may be doing it, but at the same time, I'm documenting it. So if there's ever anything that we can do to make this, me and my mom can do to make this reality come to the light about the things that are going on, yeah, we're going to already have this video on there about all the things that happened to my aunts. This is unacceptable behavior. America goes around saying to other people, oh, human rights, human rights, human rights, human rights, human rights, human rights. But look at what they're doing to other people. They're the worst because they have the most resources and technology and equipment to be the worst. And this is not, I understand that there are good people and bad people everywhere, and I do love I am proud to be an American because it's given me the advantage to pay it forward and to show other people how to be friendly, how to be professional, and how to give it all they've gotten, how to give it all that they got, and to just teach people new ways of doing things that are yet effective. That is what I feel that that's one of the benefits of being American, and I'm very thankful for the lessons that I've learned and the lessons that I've been able to take with me along the years to impact the lives of other people who are not in America, and maybe who they've never seen a black person before, and maybe they've never met an American person before. Maybe they've never met a cool foreigner who knows a lot, and perhaps I'm one who sets the record straight, or, shows them that there are good people in the world and they come in different shapes, sizes, and colors. So, yeah. But at the same time, it just gets me when I think about, honestly, being a target individual, it wakes you up to the reality of the human psyche and the way the world is at large. Because when you're targeted and you see how people, they always want to play, oh, we're good, America, they give to the poor, they give so much foreign aid to these countries and all of that. But yet, behind the scenes, they're targeting innocent individuals. That is not acceptable. That's not right. Okay? So all the people that have a problem with this video, go and research me. Go and research me, and you tell me what you find, okay? You tell me what you find and if I'm innocent or if I'm guilty. If I've ever been committed of any crime. If I've ever done anything wrong, if I've had employment, if I went to a university. Go and Google all the Christian schools that I went to when I was younger. Go and Google what church I went to and all this stuff if you want to say something bad about me. Because I might not just sit here and let you do it. Go and Google all the stuff that I'm telling you about my family members and go get an autopsy to see if she was given over the necessary dosage of the medicine that killed her. Go do that for my aunt number 2. Go do that for my aunt number 1. Both of them are died the same way in the hospital. A place that's supposed to make you better actually makes you worse. So if you want to say anything bad about me, go Google the facts that I'm presenting and go look at all over 100 of the videos that I'm presenting and tell me that that's not coincidence. And look at the videos and tell me if there's truth in it. Go research everything that I'm saying. Since when has a person who's schizophrenic made as much sense as I am making? Since when has a schizophrenic person not stuttered? And since when has a schizophrenic person spoken the truth and made sense with what they're saying? Because they do have subject-verb agreement. They don't have problems processing their thoughts. Do you see me fidgeting on the screen like someone who's schizophrenic? Do you see me talking in a weird tone of voice? And do you see my eyeballs rolling to the left or to the right in a weird way? No, you do not. So don't call me schizophrenic. Do you even know what schizophrenic is? Oh, your definition of schizophrenic is anyone who you are told is schizophrenic. If someone tells you someone is schizophrenic, that's all you need. You don't even have to see the signs in that person. They can be just as normal, more normal than you. But for the mere fact that you've gotten a phone call and someone has said, watch this person is mentally unstable, or this person is dangerous, or this person is schizophrenic, then you want to believe that that person is the absolute worst and deplorable in society, and that's not the case. But this video, I don't want to make it over 31 minutes. I am getting ready to close it, I promise. I just want to close it out by saying that when my first aunt died in Chicago at Northwestern Medical Center in downtown Chicago, that made me so sad. The journey between me and my aunt was not over. I have always loved her, and I always will love her, and she was a second mother to me. And we prayed ourselves through many things. When I got my job as a flight attendant, my aunt and I would go to prayer at church in Warren, Arkansas, at Powerhouse Church of God in Christ, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for prayer, for noon prayer. And we would also pray at home until God gave me a job. And yes, I was a targeted individual, but God brought me through it without being detected by these people tracking us, and allowed me to go to training for 2 months to become a flight attendant. And that job lasted 2 months until they found out about it and I got fired from my job as a flight attendant. A job where I only called in sick 1 day out of 2 years. A job where I was only late for work 1 day out of 2 years, which is extremely exceptional considering the track record and the attendance record of the other flight attendants at my company. I loved my job. I wanted to be a flight attendant since I was 11 years old. God gave the job to me, and yeah, when you lose a job as a targeted individual, it's very difficult to get another one because they try to make sure that you never get another one. And as I look around at my life now, I don't have any friends. Why do I not? Because they've made sure that they've kept me out of the workplace to where I can make friends. They've made sure that I didn't finish my last year of school where I could have had friends for a lifetime. And now we're in a society after COVID and after the world is continued to change. We're in a society where people don't place as much importance on friendship like they used to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And as a result of that, that's my situation. I mean, most days it's either or, but nevertheless, still, they don't want you to have friends, because if you have friends, your friends can say, no, I know Anthony. He is not crazy. I don't care what you say. He's not schizophrenic. He's a very good person. He's very friendly. I've never heard him say anything rude about anyone ever in my entire life. But anyway, the last thing that I want to say in this video is the fact that when my first aunt died, I did not go to the hospital to see her, not once. I was the one who put her in the taxi to go to the hospital, but when she was at 7345 South Shore Drive in Chicago. I picked her up, put her on the elevator, and brought her down to the taxi. And then this is another thing: the firemen who came, they were in it with the military, and they wanted to take my aunt to the hospital, and I would not let them take my aunt to the hospital because I knew that they were going to most likely give her intravenous medicine through an IV, and she may not make it to the hospital because my aunt was in a very bad situation. But when she got to the hospital, she was stabilized. And she was in a bad situation because my mother had gone out of town for 2 days to look for a job, and they were very angry. And that is when destruction started to strike. Also, I was in the process, that day that it happened, I was actually at O'Hare Airport because I was going to fly back to New York that day. I was actually in the airport waiting to check in for my flight. And, my mom called me and told me to come back to the apartment because my aunt wasn't doing well. I was going to New York because I was going to sue my employer for illegally terminating me. I was a good employee. I was a victim of workplace brutality. My employer lied on my record. They lied on my record and said I resigned when I did not resign. They banned me from flying on the airline that I worked for and then they said that I did not show up for work. How can you show up for work if you're banned from flying on the airline that you work for? And long story short, I wanted to file a lawsuit, which I did. Now, like a couple of years later, I did do it. I got around to doing it, and the judge threw it out because they contacted the judge also. But long story short, they did not want me to file a case against I can't say the company, but I think you know it now. They did not want me to file a case against the airline that I worked for, and that is why they did it, because they knew that I would be forced to come back home. They thought that it would also be able to delay me from filing the case. Too many things were happening. They wanted to stop it. They wanted to do something harmful that would really hurt me and my mother. My mother went for a job interview, and they were mad about it. I was on my way to New York to file a lawsuit in the Eastern District Court of New York. And they were also mad about that because they're the reason why I got fired. They're the ones who contacted my employer and told my employer to not only fire me, but to ban me from flying on the airline that I work for, even though I did nothing wrong, even though they told me that they would be meeting with me later, and all of this other crazy stuff. And for me to go back and sue the company for a lot of money and also for back time when it was their fault that I got fired in the first place because of the words that they put into my supervisor's ear, forging my file to make it seem like I signed a resignation letter when I didn't. But anyway, those are the two reasons. And I keep saying that this is the end, but there are a lot of parts of this story and I keep forgetting. But it hurts me that I wasn't there with my aunt in the hospital before she died, and the reason why I wasn't is because I would sometimes go out to the park that was near 7345 South Shore Drive, and yes, I say the address over and over because I want you guys to see where I lived in Chicago, and I also want you all to have that for documentation, just in case you see me one day or whatever, or hear about me if anything were to happen. But yeah, I would go to the park to get out because they were constantly injecting chemicals through the air vents and through the central heating, and then they were chiseling at the ceiling at our ceilings so that they could thin it out and easily allow the chemicals to come from the ceiling into our apartment, because the thin wall made the chemicals able to go through to our living space from above. So they would chisel at the above, they would chisel at the ground, and it would make a thin barrier between our ceiling and their ground, and they would put like a generator or something there, and then the chemicals would be released into our apartment. But I would go out, and my mother always encouraged me to go out and take a walk and stuff like that. So I got my index cards, and I went to the park that's next door to where we live. And then literally 10 minutes later, police officers are swerving all around me. And they tell me to drop my backpack. And then they search me. They see a passport in my bag, and they have heard about me getting new passport numbers, and they hate that, because when you get a new passport number, they have to find out how they have to sic someone on you so that they can get that new passport number and effectively track you from wherever you're going and put it in their database, whatever database they use. And long story short, I did not feel comfortable walking outside after that happened to me, and it was almost 1 year before I actually, well, it was for 1 year, but almost, I did not really go outside again. I could not, I didn't really go out in Chicago. So I was very afraid to go to the hospital to say my last goodbye to my aunt, or to even help up for her, especially considering that at the hospital they banned my mother from visiting. I knew for a fact that I would never allow anything bad to the doctors or the nurses to mistreat my aunt. But when you're black in America, and yes, I have viewers who are many different races watching this channel, but I'm going to say it. When you're black in America, if you stand up for yourself, even if you're talking the way I'm talking right now in this video, and tell the doctor that she's being unprofessional or that she's doing something illegal, they will have you thrown out of the hospital, and the police will not think another thing about it, because you're just a black nigger. That is the way America is, and that is my 100% honest to God experience in America, and that is what I know for a fact. Okay, and so I did not want to go up there, and I thought at the time it was best for my mom to go up there, because she's not only someone who's older, but she's also a female. And when you're black, it's going to be easier for the black female to, help in situations like that than it is for a black male. Because even if I'm talking like this, those white nurses, and I'm being honest, they will not like a black person telling them how to do their job. That is plain and simple. I might lose some subscribers due to this, but I gotta be honest, this video is very important for me, and I'm not holding back on anything. I love all of my viewers. They're good people in every race, and good people and bad people in every race also. But that is the reality in America, and that's why I did not feel comfortable going to the emergency room to help my aunt stay alive. But if I had been there, I am very confident that she would have stayed alive. Very confident. But at the same time, yeah. And I had the one cousin who's in the Navy, the only thing she talks about is how I never came up to see her mother, when quite honestly, I was taking care of her mother for many years, and she didn't do anything for her mother until the doctor had to fucking call her and tell her that her mother may not be alive in the next month. And yeah. Oh my God! And at the funeral, these people I have never seen before, they were shitting on my fucking face. And I'm thinking, where the fuck did you come from? I don't even know you. And I hate that the video is going this way, but I've lost a lot of family members who, in my eyes, should have never been dead. I'm a Capricorn. I have a very strong work ethic, and I'm very loyal, and I love my family to death. I love them so much. I love them very much. And for them to be gone at the hand of these fucking pricks in America, working in the military, thinking that they can take anyone's life, that doesn't go down okay with me. Everyone wants to say, oh, you're being aggressive. Go and research all of the things that I say in all of my other videos. Before you have anything to say about me, go and watch all 100 or 200 or however many videos I have up there, and then form an opinion for yourself. Until then, you can't say anything. So yes, I am holding Chief Dillinger in Little Rock, Arkansas, in the Navy, who my mother said was a very poor chief, a man with no self-confidence, a man who didn't even know how to do his job right, a man who carried tobacco in his back pocket when he was wearing his Navy uniform, which also is a no-no. Chief Ty is another one, TYE, I think. And all those other motherfuckers and bitches in Little Rock, Arkansas, and wherever, Washington, D.C. too, and everywhere else where you go thinking that you're invincible and that you're amazing. I just want to remind you that God will repay. God will repay. He may not do it when I want him to do it, but eventually he will. And I say in the name of Jesus, your seed is cursed. The seed of all of your descendants, all of your children, sons and daughters, they are cursed in the name of Jesus. They will be cursed. Even the Bible says it, and I'm saying this for you viewers who are watching and you think it's harsh for me to attack their children. Let me tell you something. I've seen some of these people do work with their children, and their children are just as demonic as they are. That's number one. I would never hurt a kid, just so you know. But I will say that I do know that if I pray that God rain down coals of vengeance on the children and all of their seeds from here after, God will do it. Because in the Bible, there's actually a scripture that says, well, never mind. Whatever. Anyway, when there are bad people in the world, you have to get to the root of the problem. It's not right that these people have taken my family members away. Hard-working family members, Christian family members, Bible readers, people who treated other people with care, love, and respect. You know? So anytime that you go and you watch something on the news and you see, and the story is, we see who the hero is and we see who the villain is. Maybe sometimes it would be best to turn the situation around, and the people who you think are the villains, maybe you should see them as the hero. And those who you think are the heroes, maybe you should see them as the villain. And I really do mean this. This video is very long. I always say I'm not going to talk a lot, but I guess that the videos are very long because, I'm not trying to really get subscribers. When I want to talk about something, I come on here. And if I don't respond to your message, it's not because I'm lazy or because I don't value you. It's more about I don't know who's real. Maybe if you also start to make videos about being a targeted individual in your experience, I will know you're real when I look at your channel after you've commented on my video. And if I know you're real, I probably will respond back. The sad thing about it is that I don't get any comments from people who actually have videos up. And I have shared my videos on their pages, on their YouTube pages, but I don't really get comments I don't get comments from them at all. And when I finally do get a comment from someone who's found my video or found my channel, it's very weird because I know for sure that the people who are tracking me and monitoring my internet activity, they definitely love leaving comments. That's their all-time favorite thing to do. And because I'm mentioning it right now, for sure, they will be all over this video, leaving 1,000,001 comments. But I hope that you've learned from this video. Make sure you take care of your body. Make sure that if you have a family member who's in the hospital, that you try not to leave their side. Of course, we have to all sometimes go places, but just to make sure that you use the buddy system if possible. Or not the buddy system, but, if you have another family member who's caring for someone who's in the hospital, take turns. Do it in shifts so that there's someone always there with them. Even if you're not targeted, this is very good information for you to know. I wish you all the best. Have a great night. See you.